Good afternoon, James. Great to see you and Happy New Year to you.
A happy new year to you as well, Gene. That's always great to see you.
Yep, it's the first time you and I are talking in 2023. James, if you don't mind, I would like to bring up one point that is on my mind, and perhaps you and I can have a chat about it.
Sure.
So I would like to pick your brain and ask for your view on the role of a product owner, and more specifically, on the activities that he or she should be involved with respect to product teams, with respect to the teams that do product development in large-scale Scrum. And as a reminder to our listeners, there could be anywhere between 2 to 8 teams in large-scale Scrum organizational structure. Of course, just one and only one product owner. So two things that come to mind is that there is something that a product owner is always responsible for. It's called prioritization. And there is also an ongoing, never-ending need of giving clarifications to developers, to teams. Those two activities, those two responsibilities, can we talk about them in the scope of large-scale Scrum and the role of a product owner? What are
Sure.
some of your experiences and thoughts in this?
So quite simply, from LeSS, what do the LeSS books say? What does the LeSS canon say? It says that prioritization is to be done by the product owner, and clarification is to be done between the teams and the users and customers. So that's the book answer. And the interesting thing is to talk about why that is true and why that leads to the better adaptability. Why do we get better value delivery that way? The first point is that if you have a single product backlog and you have a single, which helps with whole product awareness and whole product focus and all sorts of other things, if you ran everything through a single product owner, it would bottleneck them. And so the only way to get rid of that bottleneck without introducing middlemen is to have the teams directly collaborate with the users and customers. But I think it's also very fair to say that if you want the most creative, useful solutions, you do that by using the wisdom of the group as a whole. And you do that by not having a product owner act as a middleman between whoever it is that knows the most about this aspect that, some customer who's an expert in some aspect of the business that can give straight answers to the customer. To the teams.
Yep. Okay.
This would be, in military terms, you would talk about mission command, not detail command, as I believe. I'm not a military guy, but I believe this is phrased in that way. What you really want from the product owner is, these are the more important things from a business level. This is the business problem we're trying to solve. As to the details, leave it up to the teams to solve. And the more that you spoon feed them, the more that you disempower them, the more they become disconnected from the customer, the more they become disconnected from understanding the business. And so that's not good.
Yeah. And probably begs the question, if I may just ask you, it just begs the question, a PO, should he or she come from business or technology? Specifically, when teams need to interact,
It's a great question. So, generally speaking, I would say you want this to be from someone from the business. You want to be someone who can give you the last word, that says, yes, I'm accountable for P&L as a product owner, and this is what's most important. And if this is a CEO or a CEO -1 who's in important business meetings, they're not going to have time to do all of this detailed stuff anyway. Right. All the more reason that you want the teams to be doing this. Mm. But another facet that comes out in the books as well is what you really want is someone who is both a technologist and is also also a business person, and through years of experience has become very capable in both. This idea of the chief technologist as the business person, like the Toyota example, where the guy who's been building cars for a long, long, long time and understands both sides and takes on that role. That's ideal. But again, it really depends on the product.
If I were to ask you, like, I think we have this graphic that I have it handy. If you
Yes,
just
sir.
ship it on the screen, right?
Will do.
Yeah. Okay, here it is. So what's marked as 1 through 5 are the 5 relationships that surround around and about a product owner. Let's just take one team setup when there's only one team, one product owner, one product backlog. So the relationships 1 through 4 are pretty straightforward. They're pretty clear. A PO interacts directly with the teams or with a single team. Obviously, they have a direct conduit to high management and to users, customers that they represent. Number 2 is the coach-coachee relationship with a Scrum Master being the team coach and shepherd. What's stressed out here, what's really emphasized is number 5 with exclamation mark. It's the thick dotted line between customers or users and teams. So this is the communication channel that is responsible for what you'd refer to as clarification. So we want as much as possible for clarification and detail to flow directly from customers and our users, depending on whether it's internal and external product development, onto teams and backwards. If you could also,
that's what I was going to say. Yes, you have this other diagram which kind of zooms into that relationship.
Yeah, so if we take a look at that one, so we kind of zooming into onto the number 5 relationship. Now, unless we make a clear delineation between prioritization and clarification, we are going to put a product owner in a very tough position where she would have to serve so many developers and so many teams, 2 to 8 teams in large-scale Scrum, essentially working 100 jobs for the same paycheck, diluting her attention everywhere on details and trivial stuff that is probably not where she needs to focus her attention. And this is why it's so critical, so imperative, at least if you want to scale. If you really want to scale, not just in spirit and words only, but actually in action, you need to elevate a PO with her role and set of responsibilities to the point where she can focus on strategy, mission, and vision, and delegate communication that goes directly from users and our customers on one hand, and developers on the other. So number 5, relationship here becomes super critical. And I will just probably throw it back at you and ask, what do you think it means for these purple little figures for the teams? I'm going to anchor this a little bit. Should they or shouldn't they be savvy and versatile enough to be able to speak to users? Because that's usually a dilemma for many companies. Oh, our techies cannot speak to users.
The way my experience is, the way that you become better at communicating with people is by communicating with people.
Funny, but yeah, go ahead.
and so, and most of the engineers I know are very intelligent people, and they're very capable of communicating. And even if they struggle there, they're very capable of learning and growing and becoming stronger. And people can help each other. And I also think that it's not completely unreasonable in a private context where you have your users or internal users. It's not at all unreasonable to ask that the business learns to speak to engineers as well. This isn't necessarily should be all on the engineers on the team, or the developers on the teams. The team members. I think it helps if the business people help make that bridge as well. And if indeed there is this big distinction between the natural abilities, the innate aptitudes of the type of people that gravitate to these different roles, Well, then certainly, if that's true, and I'm not positive it is true, the people on the business side, they're supposed to be the people that are very communicative. Well, you would think they would have the skill to speak intelligibly to the engineers.
Sounds
and
like,
not just be intimidated by them.
Yeah, and so what another thought that comes to mind is that if an organization is wired, I call it back-end wiring. If it's designed in such a way that there is a clear delineation, hey, we're on technology side, we're there, we're literally purple figures, and you guys and gals are yellow on the other side, us versus them, sort of like contractually bound, then this opportunity for direct communication and free information flow will be hindered. And then what will most likely happen is that because purple figures do not trust yellow figures, and yellow figures do not trust purple figures, they start introducing command and control sanitary layers to funnel discussions, to just to add more handoffs. And as we know, with handoffs and with additional queues, we drop on cycle time. We increase on cycle time. We drop on quality and accuracy, and many things go south, basically. So we create these unnecessary artificial organizational layers of translation. Also, if we started with an organization that already has these layers, the whole idea of yellows talk to purples, it's nothing but an idea on paper.
So, Gene, I had a devil's advocate question.
Yeah, sure.
Which is, well, why wouldn't we simply have a few more requirement areas? Wouldn't that be better so that product owner could do more of this clarification? What's wrong with that idea? Now, you and I, as trainers, have very strong opinions against that, but I want to let you respond to it.
Well, I mean, a good reason for a new requirement area to grow is when we genuinely have exceeded what I refer to as mental or intellectual capacity of a product owner to focus on strategy and vision and mission. If we truly have exceeded that capacity, that limit, human limit, then we need to think of another requirement area, product requirement area. Until then, if we try to compartmentalize and segment every little so-called area into a requirement area and call it LeSS, we'll just be fooling ourselves, because most likely we're just trying to introduce BAs and BAs or SAs. And the reason why it happens is because with an expectation that a PO needs to be a jack of all trades, humanly it's not possible, physically it's not possible. We start introducing middle layers. So our requirement area gets erected, gets stood up for a good reason at a certain time under certain conditions. But with 2 to 8 teams with a relatively ring-fenced product, this should be solved not by adding more people to already complex structure, but actually reducing complexity by reducing layers and bringing Gemba, where value gets created, to where it gets consumed. So proximity between Gemba creation and Gemba consumption should collapse.
And simply introducing a requirement area reduces adaptability.
Correct.
It's a lesser evil that you do when you have no other choice.
It's a lesser evil indeed. Yeah.
So, Gene, we've got to wrap. This has been wonderful.
I agree. Thank you.
So this is available on both of our LinkedIn channels as well as our individual YouTube channels, as well as on podcast, including Spotify has the video. Thanks again, and hope to see you next time.
Thank you very much. All the best.